Lakeview and to Laker Art. This is John Sterner. I am the art teacher at Lakeview Public Schools, and today we are doing Laker 7th grade, and we are learning how to create atmospheric perspective using oil pastels on our Sea Serpent. And so our Sea Serpent is a cylinder, and much like how we shaded the cylinder before, where we used our value scale, where we created a value scale, we're going to use our hue, our tints, and we're going to use our shade. So to create this Sea Serpent and make it look like it's in color. Now I'm going to pretend my light source is up here. Here's my sun. So I'm going to have a shadow that comes down off of my Sea Serpent following the direction of my sun. And notice that the direction of it changes as it gets farther away. All right, now what's going to happen is I'm going to use a basic color like white. It looks like I was choosing to use green, which means that I'm going to use my red as my color that I'm going to use for my shading. Oh, and my red just broke, so I'm going to redo that. So for demonstration purposes, we're talking here, we created this the other day in class. We created our value scale. We took our hue, which is the color straight up. We added white to it to create a tint. We added 2 parts more white, and we created a second tint. Then we showed how it would look if we used black, and then we showed how if we used complement, the color opposite on the color wheel. And that makes for a unique shadow. It also makes for one that we see when we are out. So an example of a color wheel here. We're going to start talking now. If I use the color red, the color directly opposite is green. If I count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So that makes it the opposite. If I went violet, it would be yellow. If I went blue, it would be orange, and vice versa. If I went orange, it would be blue. If I went yellow, it would be violet. If I went green, it would be red. So with that in mind, we are going to start to teach how to shade this. So the first thing I'm going to want to do is recognize that my light comes in. I'm going to get what we call a core shadow, and that is going to be an area that goes right here, and that is going to be the darkest area on my core shadow is going to go up here. I'm going to label that core. Then I'll get a core shadow that runs there, and I'll label that core. Now, what that means is that's going to be my darkest area. And if I'm using green, I'm going to first put in some red, and I'm going to put my red down first, nice and firmly. All right, as you can see, I've put in all my core shadows. The core goes like this along this cylinder. This goes along this way along this cylinder. This goes this way along this cylinder. And my cast shadows are going to be the darkest areas. Now, I'm going to take my green and I'm going to go over my core shadow. I could go across like that, or I could turn it and go so that it creates a crosshatch. Either way, both ways work. What I want to do is get a really nice dark layer. Now, to make that layer darker, I could go back over it with some red and make it even darker. I don't want a lot of red to show through, which means that I would have to go through it again with my green. Now, I'm going to put a layer of shadow that's going to go across here, but I'm going to do it lightly by not pressing hard with my... Okay, as you've seen, I put in my red. Now this one, I'm definitely going to cross. So I'm going to go like this, and I'm going to create it. And you'll see that it looks different because there's more green than there is red. So now the only areas we have left to put in will be and they will get a core shadow color on them because they are facing the opposite direction. Now I usually wait to do this, but you can wrap this around